Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webcast, Remote Work, How to Get Started Quickly Using PC over IP Technology, sponsored by Teradici. I'm Tracy Cook with Virtualization and Cloud Review, and I'd like to thank you so much for joining us today. I'd like to cover a few housekeeping details. We're hosting a Q&A session after the presentations, and we encourage everyone to participate. We've also Teradici has also provided us a number of resources, and you can find them on the Resource tab. So please check them out. I'm sure you'll find them helpful. And this webcast is being recorded and will be available for replay. You'll receive an email when the replay is available, or you can check back using this link you used today a little later on in the afternoon, and the recording may be available. Joining us today is Jack Liu, Solutions Architect with Teradici. Jack is a solutions architect who is passionate about public cloud, IT, and remote visualization. He works closely with end customers, channel, and software vendors in bringing solutions to their challenges. Jack holds a bachelor's degree in business administration from Simon Fraser University. And leading us off today is Mirella Chinello, Director of Product Management. She's also with Teradici. She's a seasoned product management professional with over 9 years of experience in desktop, virtualization, and cloud computing. She's very passionate about the voice of the customer when bringing next-generation solutions, virtual solutions to life. She holds a bachelor's degree in systems control and electronics engineering also from Simon Fraser University. So welcome to you both. And Mirella, you can get us started. So please take it away.
Thank you, Tracy. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Hope you're keeping healthy and social distancing as much as you can. So as part of the agenda today, we'll discuss, as you can see here, some industry trends, business challenges, general business challenges, as well as business challenges related to remote work. Talk about Teradici a little bit, remote work, remote workstations in general, and also we'll have some resources for you as well that you can access, download, as well as links to as well. Okay, so to start, just wanted to give you a very quick overview of our company in case you're not familiar. So Teradici started in 2004. And we developed PC over IP, which is a remoting protocol for desktops and workstations. And in 2019, we released a major enhancement of the protocol called PCoIP Ultra, and I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. So today, there are over 13 million PCoIP users worldwide across many different verticals, different markets, different types of customers. And we work very closely with major technology partners, and the goal is to provide the best possible solution for our end customers. So we'll work with hardware partners, cloud partners, all kinds of partners, so that whatever solution you end up using, you have the best experience. Okay, so as you know, many countries and companies are encouraging or even imposing work from home and social distancing. And in order for you to continue to have business continuity and to be able to work, how you enable work from home is really essential, and to be able to enable it in the first place. So here at Teradici, we have fully transitioned to working from home. Because we normally work on virtual desktops, remote desktops, this is really easy for us to do. We just one day decided, okay, now's the time to work from home. The next day, everybody is working from home. So that's what virtualization really enables, that flexibility. But here's a couple of blogs you can link to later that talks about generally considerations and how to prepare for remote work, as well as how we, as our own company, how did we make this transition? What did we have to consider? And here in our pictures, you can see some of my coworkers who are working from home and how their setup looks like. Everybody's setup is different, as you can imagine. Okay, so what are some of the key industry trends that are happening? So one that you probably hear about all the time is multi-cloud. It's the concept of multiple clouds, concept of utilizing the best of OpEx and CapEx, utilizing different clouds because they all have something different to offer advantages. One has some advantage over another, depending on what your focus is, as well as the ability, multi-cloud also includes on-premises. It's the multi-cloud hybrid concept. And we'll talk about that quite a bit in this session today as well, because of the benefits of multi-cloud and utilizing both the public cloud and on-premises, we've designed our product to support that concept and to give you the maximum flexibility in order to deploy your users, your workstation. Second mega trend is security and IP protection. Obviously, today that's a pretty important trend. When you are working from home, how are these users accessing the data? It has to be as secure as possible. Mobile workforce. Again, today everybody's remote, mobile, somewhere else, not in the office. So it's especially important now. But even without what's happening today in the world, this has been a key industry trend where modern workforce wants to be able to have that work-life balance and work from anywhere and travel and work even when they're traveling for work or traveling for fun, and be able to access your work and continue to work from anywhere was a key trend even before this. And then desktop as a service, same thing, remoting, accessing a desktop, but doing so as a service just means that it minimizes to the company, the IT management is much smaller because it's hosted as a service. It's some sort of service you're paying for to manage your desktop. That was one other key industry trend, and this has also been pretty significantly utilized over the last few months because of COVID as well. Okay, so what are some examples of business challenges today? So these are several different business challenges in here. Some apply, especially today, because of the situation we're in, but others apply in general. So one, external and internal disasters prevent business continuity. Obviously, when you have any sort of disaster that happens, you need to continue your business. So you need to design your infrastructure in a way that allows users to continue working. And that could be because of this, that could be because of a power outage, that could be because of a tornado, it could be lots of reasons. Another business challenge is that when you have your infrastructure on site, for example, on premises, desktops and workstations under the desk, it's quite expensive to scale as well as manage. And just managing individual desktops that are under desks in different locations is expensive to do. But scaling is even a bigger problem when you have to hire additional people, or you need to scale down to save costs. You have to either procure this additional hardware or get rid of it somehow. So those are some challenges that lots of businesses face. And today, one of the big challenges today is you may not even have access to your on-site access at all, or you have very limited access. There's not much you can do. Another big business challenge, which I mentioned as part of the key trends as well, is that your valuable IP needs to be controlled, it needs to be protected. You need to let people work, but you need to do it in a way that is very secure. Another one is dispersed teams. So we live in a world today that, all of us probably have coworkers all over the world, different. If it's not all over the world, it's probably dispersed across the country somewhere. So these teams need to be able to collaborate efficiently, work really well with each other. And if they don't, productivity goes down. And also, if you are in an industry that does any sort of graphics-intensive work or compute, a lot of compute required, that sort of workload that you're working on, you'll see you want access to the latest and greatest technologies in order to do work faster, better. You're probably dealing with larger data sets than just a few years ago. 3D models are bigger, more complex. It's more challenging to actually work with that, especially if you have dispersed teams and they need to share and work on this data set together, collaborate on it together. So these are some of the challenges. So obviously, when I was explaining us as Teradici and who we are and what we develop, PCoIP being our protocols, promoting desktops and workstations. So why? That's what we do. And why would you want to utilize remote workstations for the business challenges I listed and talked about earlier, as well as part of remote work? So these are three big reasons why remote workstations. There's more, but these are three major ones: lowering costs, increasing productivity, and then you want and have to maintain really good performance and increase, hopefully, your security as well. So in regards to cost, how do remote workstations help with cost? Generally, when you remote and virtualize, you do minimize downtime as well as improve business continuity. And that's because when you have a virtual workstation, you can, a couple of reasons. You might have a virtual workstation and you can have another one that you switch the user to. And the user is just connecting to another environment. They're not, whatever the device they're using to connect to, that's not the one that's failing. It's just a faster way to reduce downtime is one. Also, disaster recovery, moving to the public cloud, for example. So very quickly you can move to the public cloud and all your resources are there and you just access it using your clients. And I'll explain the architecture later on, actually, Jack will, how that would work. Another cost benefit of remote workstations is the concept of OpEx versus CapEx. When you're remote, you can choose to utilize your infrastructure that you have in your environment, in your data center or in your just under the desk workstations and desktops, or you can choose to go to the public cloud. And if you go to the public cloud, generally a public cloud is priced by pay as you go. So if you are using 5 hours of a workstation, you pay for 5 hours. So it's that balance savings you could do by just balancing how much of your on-premises workstations to use versus going to the cloud. And just gives you a lot of flexibility and agility in general. When you can balance between which cloud, which data center, your data center, balance the cost between the two. You can grow very quickly, especially in the cloud. You can just create additional workstations if you've hired more people or you need to more, or your data center is completely down, you can move them over to the public cloud. So it gives that agility, and that at the end saves you cost as well. And then I have in here as well, as you can see, tax incentives. This is an example of what we see is when you hire your workforce, you can hire in different parts of the world, and depending where you hire them from, you might get some tax incentives because they are in the region they're working in. And we see this quite a bit in the media entertainment industry. I'm sure it applies to other industries as well. So that's another cost saving. And then productivity, by utilizing remote workstations, you are improving how the different teams collaborate with each other because the data that they're working on is not being downloaded to individual workstations and then uploaded again, and then it's just when everything's data is in one place, for example, and then the workstations are brought to that data, the users are just connecting to that workstation, and they are collaborating much more efficiently that way. Also, when you have the concept of remoting and virtualizing, you really open yourself up to acquiring talent much easier, or maybe not easier, but at least a wider range of areas where you can get talent from. So it doesn't all have to be in the city you're in. It can be anywhere because they can access your data center from anywhere and access their data from anywhere, which means you really can improve your productivity because you're hiring the best talent. And then I'll go over to performance and security a bit more as well. When you are remoting, I mean, one important part of remoting workstation is that generally, if you are in any sort of industry that does graphics-intensive workloads, performance is really, really important. And you can't be remoting a workstation and the end user, let's say an artist or a designer, can't even work because the performance isn't good enough. So performance is really important, and remote workstations with Teradici technology, it makes it feel like the workstation is right under the desk, and that's super important. And we'll talk about that a bit later as well. And then security. When you are remoting your workstation, you do your security, you enable better security because your data is somewhere else. It's locked up in your data center, let's say, or it's in the public cloud in your virtual private center that you've built, rather than downloaded to individual devices that users have. And this is especially important today, work from home, because they could be everywhere. So security with remoting workstations is really improved. Okay, so here are a few that I want to cover since I've been talking about the challenges as well as why remote workstations. Here are a few use cases, various examples of use cases for high-performance remoting that we see that successful remote and want to remote because of that remoting addresses their challenges. So examples in media entertainment, visual effects work, video editorial, animation, any of that is very commonly remoted using Teradici technology. Federal government and military, so this would be all sorts of use cases like data scientists, any engineering work like CAD work, data visualization, modeling, flight and vehicle simulation, and training, development as well as training, as well as just enabling secure access to employees and contractors. If you want to separate contractors to classify data from employees, remoting is a great way to enable that as well. In manufacturing and engineering, so CAD work, so this could be automotive, could be AC, 2D, 3D, doesn't really matter what kind of CAD work. Generally, by remoting, first of all, you're enabling higher security to the assets or whatever you're designing, the future version of a car, let's say, enables the different designers that are focused in different areas. Some are focused on materials, some are focused on just the look of the car. They can collaborate better together when they all have workstations that are remoting into and accessing shared data that way. Another one is finance. So trading is an example. Trading requires really high performance, real-time updates of data that they're looking at, and security is also, again, important. Higher education, examples here, lots of examples here, but now, as you can imagine, work from home, you can do a lot using, with students using, hey, just open up Google Docs and work on a doc. You can do a lot that way for schools, But for STEM subjects, for example, and it's anything in science, technology, engineering, math, these students need to learn subjects that require you to use applications that can run in a browser, or applications that are quite graphics intensive, like for any STEM subject, really. When you host these applications in a remote desktop and let the students access these remotely, all they need is a software client on any of their clients, of any device that they might own, to access these graphics-intensive workloads. So it's really enables a lot more flexibility. And then healthcare example would be medical imaging. And in general, for any of these, disaster recovery is a very common use case where you might have your environment on premises, but then you host everything in the cloud, in the public cloud, that you switch to and turn on only when you need it. Okay, so just here I wanted to highlight a few reasons why Teradici specifically. So number one, especially for home strategy and work from home strategy, I mean. So number one, we are focused generally across the board from day one for high performance use cases. So if you want to have really good performance and it feels like it's under the desk, the desktop, then Teradici really has put a lot of effort on that front for all our products. So for example, the PCoIP protocol provides the highest image quality. We built to lossless. It's full color accuracy and very highly interactive. The interactivity, when you type in the keyboard, it feels like it's right there and local. And there's a lot more with peripherals and how we work with certain peripherals to enable really good performance. And Jack will cover some of that later on as well. Another one is security. So I mentioned remoting. Just by the act of remoting, you have data somewhere else and not in the client devices. But with PCoIP specifically, we do not, when you're connecting to it, we don't send any data to the client, to the user that's connecting. It's the data stays secure in data center. Only encrypted pixels are transmitted, and the PCoIP traffic is also secured with AES-256 encryption. Also, we really focus on ease of deployment and management. We designed the product to be easy to deploy, as easy as possible, and the tools that we add and provide to you, like management of clients or orchestration service that we have that Jack will get into as well later on, is designed to be as easy as possible for you to manage your environment. And then last, platform flexibility. I talked about multi-cloud. I talked about flexibility that you want to, the benefits of remoting is utilizing resources that give your business the best cost, flexibility, productivity, whatever is the most important to you. And having technology that can run on any of these environments really gives you that full flexibility. So on-premises, data centers, standalone machines, public cloud, any of that. Okay, so I've been talking about technology, and I haven't called out the name of it. So the product that Teradici has is called Cloud Access Software, and that's what you would install to enable remote access to your desktop and workstation. And PCoIP is the protocol that delivers those applications or the entire desktop from the data center, from the cloud, to the user. And as part of PCoIP, another piece I wanted to mention in here as well is that PCoIP is multi-codec solution, and it basically applies the right codec to the right content that you're looking at. So text versus images versus videos. And the point is that you want to balance really good user experience with how much CPU or bandwidth you're utilizing. And we also automatically adjust to changing network conditions. So if you have different users and they're all working from different devices from home, maybe even when they're at home, their own network is changing. They might have their spouse or their children getting online at the same time, and bandwidth is going up and down. We automatically adjust to changing network conditions. You don't have to have an IT person get in there and adjust settings to adjust the environment. It will just automatically adjust based on what's available. Okay, and then I mentioned we have released PCoIP Ultra as our next big enhancement of the protocol. This came out last year or so, and the enhancement is primarily focused on delivering really high frame rates for 4K UHD graphics workloads, and also enabling third-party codecs like H.264 in addition to PCoIP. Okay, so that was overview of key trends, challenges, as well as a little bit of our technology. Now I'll pass it over to Jack to cover a more detailed version of how our architecture works and our capabilities in general.
Thanks, Mirella. So PCoIP at its core is really about two parts, right? We have one part that is the agent in general, and then one part is the client. So in terms of the agent, you can think of it as the sender for PCoIP or PCoIP Ultra, and then the client as the receiver for the PCoIP traffic. On the agent side, we support a variety of different configurations, everything from on-premises, so it could be a virtualized VDI host that's running VMware or KVM. On-premises today, it could be a physical PC, just a regular desktop you may have underneath your desk, or it could be on a hyper-converged infrastructure like on Nutanix or HP or Dell. And we support all of that today for on-premises. Now, looking more towards the future, we're envisioning a lot more of our customers, embarking down the path of migrating their VDI or their graphical remote workstations into the public cloud. So we also support public cloud providers such as AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud as well. Now, that's the host side. Coming to the client side, as you may well know, Teradici is famous for its zero clients, but we're much more than that today. We also have support with our software clients, so Windows, Mac OS, Linux, as well as Chrome OS for our software clients on the desktop side. On the mobile front, we have an iOS client and our Android client as well. Now, managing all of that is Cloud Access Manager, which is in the upper middle right there. And what that is it's a brokering solution that enables users to not have to remember their IP addresses or the host names that they need to connect to. Instead, all users would go through a single point of entry, and then the Cloud Access Connector would ask for the user's credentials, and then they will point them directly, the connector will point them directly to the workstation, asking for things like MFA, if MFA is configured. And all PCoIP traffic will be routed through the Cloud Access Manager if it's going through the public internet. Now, what are some of the features of Cloud Access Software? Cloud Access Software today supports up to 4K UHD, as well as up to 4 monitors of 4K UHD. So you can potentially have, quote unquote, 8K today across 4 monitors. We have full color accuracy, and we can efficiently build to lossless. What this means is, compared to some of our competitors, which uses traditionally H.264, we are 8-bit 444 for those of you who are in the media entertainment industry. What that means is what you see is what's actually being presented remotely. The challenge that we have seen with H.264 today in most implementations is that they're using what's called H.264 420 mode. Now, that's that level of codec is what YouTube or Netflix uses, and it's really great for video content. But it isn't really good for things like desktops or things like Word documents where you may require the lines to be really fine, or in cases where your customers may be doing video editing or VFX, where color and the accuracy that you see on the screen needs to be flawless. And as a part of that, we've also added a lot of low latency peripheral support. For example, the Wacom tablets which I'll touch on in a later slide. Today we support both Windows and Linux, specifically Ubuntu and CentOS or RHEL Linux. We offer a very flexible licensing option. So instead of doing named users or device licenses, we offer concurrent licensing, so you only pay for what you use. We also have a lot of customization options, anywhere from our client SDK, so if you wish to build your own branded client experience or custom client workflow, to being able to build your own broker. Let's say Cloud Access Software isn't fulfilling your needs today. We can provide you with the broker APIs that allow you to define your own custom broker flow. And as Marilla has mentioned, we support on-premises, public cloud, hybrid cloud, and multi-cloud environments. So specifically on the on-premise side, as mentioned before, we support ESX, KVM hypervisors, or your standalone, what we call physical PCs or bare metal PCs. We have a wide range of client endpoints, of course, with the Zero clients included, but also our software clients on the Windows, Mac OS, Linux, as well as mobile clients on iOS and Android. We can support both a standard and a graphics use case. The standard use case is what you would traditionally more imagine as traditional VDI, just a regular virtual machine with no GPUs attached. And what Teradici is especially known for today is the graphics use case, right? If you have users wanting to remote a GPU-backed virtual machine, or even a physical machine that has a NVIDIA GeForce graphics card or an NVIDIA Quadro graphics card, we support that today. Okay, so Wacom tablets. What this is, for those of you who may not be familiar, it's a little tablet that you see on the middle left there. And when users, there's a pen generally that comes with these tablets. When users take the pen to the tablet, you'll start seeing on the computer screen, the cursor starts to appear. And then the user or the artist uses the Wacom tablet as if it's a piece of paper, right? Whatever they do, whatever they draw appears on the screen. The challenge we've seen with that is, especially with traditional USB remoting, is that there's latency, right? Especially if your remote workstation is hundreds of kilometers away. And what we've done, which I'll touch on in another slide, is that we have introduced some intelligence into our Zero clients and in our software clients as well, so that we can reduce that latency for the users. And it just provides a great experience. What we've seen in this COVID-19 pandemic is that a lot of artists are starting to take certain things back home with them, right? But one of the challenges their employers may not want to do is to say, oh, we'll take your workstation back as well, because that enables the potentially artists to inadvertently or maliciously leak things that they're working on to the internet. So what they have done is they say, okay, well, let's take the tablet and a monitor back, so that you can have the exact same environment, use your home PCs with the Wacom tablets, with our local termination, which I'll touch on in a bit, and connect. And the experience is very similar to basically sitting in front of a desktop, even though you may be, 20 or 30 kilometers away from work, or even further away from work. Now, what does this local termination thing I've been alluding to, what does it mean? So traditionally, when you plug in a Wacom tablet to a device that is not locally terminated, we're just bridging USB traffic across the wire. And as you may know, USB is really designed to be, a few meters, right? I think it's up to 10 meters is the USB spec. But once you go beyond that, especially if you're, 100 kilometers away, the usability of the USB stack just becomes much, much less usable. And you get the situation on the left, right, where there is high latency and there's very poor interactivity between the local client and the remote workstation. However, with Cloud Access Software, one of the features we've done is that we've introduced some intelligence into the client. So that instead of bridging the full fat USB traffic through, we have abstracted some of that away in the client so that it's only passing through the critical parts to the remote workstation. And that's basically, it's like cutting your latency down, right? And it creates a very good user experience for the artist. Now, with Cloud Access Manager, which is Teradici's complementary broker that we provide with our Cloud Access software stack. It enables you to secure your deployments, right? So as part of the manager, you're able to entitle users to machines so that the users, when they type in their username and password, they see whatever machines they're entitled to, so they don't have to make guesswork or remember IP addresses to say, oh, I need to connect to this one. And it's compatible both with our Cloud Access software and our remote workstation cards, which I'll touch on in a couple of slides. And it offers a fully secure connection. So PCoIP is always encrypted. There's never unencrypted PCoIP. But the Cloud Access Manager enables users to also add MFA support through Radius, or to have offsite support without a VPN via our Teradici security gateway. And it scales with your business. So one of the things that the Cloud Access Manager can do on public clouds, so today in Azure and GCP, is that we're able to spin down and able to provision machines, as well as power them on and off based on one click of the button within the broker, as well as on a schedule, depending on configurations. So what this means is that, let's say it's 5 o'clock and all your users are going home, you can configure it so that if the machine is inactive for an hour, the machines will be powered off in the public cloud, saving you on compute cost. Okay, actually, that is the next point. So I've already touched on that. It manages the public cloud consumption for you as well. And this is really a sort of, one-stop shop solution for being able to manage your virtual machines, as well as which machines your users connect to. Yes, one of the things I also, it's not mentioned here, but I should add is that we also have APIs for Cloud Access Manager. So if you're looking to achieve a task or a function that is not available in our console, in our GUI today, you're able to do so via our APIs through your own automation and scripting. So this is a screenshot of sort of what it looks like once you open it for the first time. As we have detailed sort of start here, like the learn more section on what to do, as well as, sort of directing the administrator to add cloud credentials or create connectors. And we have detailed steps for every one of those items once you drill down into it. Yeah, so what are some work from home options? So let's say, it's impossible for you guys to spin up virtual machines in one of the 3 public clouds. You just need to send your users home and we need something today. That's where Cloud Access software can come in very nicely, is that the agent today can run on a physical PC that you may already have, right? All you need to do simply is install the agent and provision a connector. And the connector runs on a Ubuntu machine that could be either physical or virtual, and all it needs is a public IP address. And once you have that Ubuntu machine with the public IP address, you throw our installer on top of it, and then we will go run through the configuration steps that you need to do in order to configure it. So what this means for the home users is that they would need to simply know the public IP address or the fully qualified domain name of the connector. Once they hit enter with their software clients that they're running on their home PCs, or if they've been sent home with a 0 client, that works as well. Simply hit connect. They'll ask for their username and password, optionally MFA as well. And they're connecting directly to the remote workstation with all the traffic being routed through the security gateway component of the Cloud Access connector. And of course, one of the things to call here is there's no VPN required, right? So that you don't have to worry about the issue with double encrypting or adding unnecessary overhead. That may be common when you're using another protocol. Now, let's say, for this pandemic, you have decided, well, let's dig into the public cloud, right? Because you may not have enough resources on premises, or you may just see that, hey, I'm looking to onboard some contractors for the duration of this pandemic, and I don't have machines for them right now, but I can procure some by simply spinning a couple of them up in the public cloud. And Cloud Access Connector can support that as well, right? So simply, again, in a similar environment where you would have the Cloud Access Connector reside in one of the cloud VPCs with a Ubuntu machine that is configured with our software on top of it, and you can just connect. same thing, to a public FQDN or public IP address in the public cloud, and that will broker their connections to the remote workstations. And the nice thing here is that you don't need public IP addresses to be made available on the remote workstations, which is much more secure compared to some other VDI type setups that may require you to do that. And it's really easy to consume. The graphics agent is available in the public marketplaces, and we have links to AWS, GCP, or Azure as well. Now, the remote workstation cards. Some of you may already have remote workstation cards, especially in the media entertainment industry, because that's what they were using previously. Now, you can still use it with Cloud Access Software and the Cloud Access Manager, but unfortunately, it does require a VPN for it to work. And it's a similar concept, right? You have the public IP address of the broker, but you're VPN'd into your on-premises infrastructure as well. So when the users connect, after the session has been established, the remote workstation card comes back out directly to the client, bypassing the Cloud Access connector via the VPN. And of course, we still recommend looking at the Cloud Access software as a solution because it simply removes the VPN requirement. And we've added additional hardware support. So for example, we've added support for the GeForce cards because of the COVID pandemic. And that alleviates one of the biggest reasons why the customer needed the remote workstation card. So definitely take a look at the remote workstation card, to take a look at the Cloud Access software if you haven't done so in a while. And I think I'll pass it back to Marella.
Okay, thanks, Jack. This is just some resources for you to take a look at. The most important one, the most valid one, I would say right now, with COVID situation is the white paper, Jumpstart Your Remote Work Strategy. That's a good one to look at. And then we have several videos on how to deploy our software, as well as documents, but these are videos that might be easier for you to follow and get a quick feel on how it works. And then also, Jack mentioned consumer-grade NVIDIA cards. They are on here as well, and some instructions around that. Okay, and then I'm not going to go through these two in detail, but just to tell you, our website has several customer case studies that you can go read and familiarize yourself how they decided to use our technology. This example here is Hartz Mountain Industries, a real estate company who decided to use us for disaster recovery purposes. So you can read more about that there. And then it's on our website. And then Tangent Animation is an animation company, media entertainment, that utilizes our technology, and they decided to run their workstations in AWS. Okay, there's a lot more of these on our website if you want to check them out. So another thing that I wanted to mention right now, that we have made available a special 3-month subscription offer for basically a COVID SKU, essentially. So if you need temporarily provide remote access to all your users, we have this 3-month SKU. Normally, Cloud Access software is sold on an annual basis or a 3-year basis. So this is a special offer, and it will be available until end of June. So you can contact us to inquire more about that as well. And just another list of documents, general documents about our company, our technologies in here as well. You have access to these slides, so you can click on these if you want to learn more. Okay, I think Tracy will take over to close off and start the QA session.
Yes, thank you. And thank you guys for providing all those resources. And also, audience, there's a lot of resources on your console if you want to take a look. So anyways, here we go. It seems that with the new cloud manager, it should be super easy to simplify the licensing. Do either of you have a comment on that?
Yeah, I can answer that for sure. Absolutely, I would say the Cloud Access Manager is a component for the brokering session. But for licensing, we didn't really touch on today, but we do have two licensing models. One is our public cloud licensing. So what that means is that you just simply put in one key, and then as long as your agent has connectivity to the internet, you can get licenses relatively easily. And we don't limit on how many places you put the license into, just on the concurrent number of connections. So absolutely, it's super easy. If you do have a need to enable a dark site or no internet access use case for the agents, we also have a licensing option for that as well.
Thank you, Jack. Here's another question. Is latency the same between a hard-based VPN system and a software-only system?
So, Morella, do you want me to take that one?
Sure, go ahead, Jack.
Yeah. So the latency is not exactly the same. Obviously, the challenge with using the remote workstation card with a VPN is that you're introducing additional latency and additional, the double encryption, as we call it, on top of it. So definitely could impact it some more. Generally, we recommend, reducing as many, unnecessary components as possible. We're trying to reduce them as much as possible. So definitely, I would say look at a software system first, and if only if that then you run into challenges, then look at our hardware-based system.
Okay, thank you so much. We have another question, and it is, oh my goodness, hold on a second. How would you describe the difference between virtualization and remoting?
Maybe I'll take that one, Jack. Okay, so different people will use the terms to describe the same thing, but to be accurate, remoting means remotely accessing any desktop, but virtualizing is more specific. It's describing taking your, not remoting a workstation or a standalone desktop. It's taking a server and putting a hypervisor on it, and then adding or creating virtual machines on top. So the virtual machines concept on top of a hypervisor is generally virtualization, because you're virtualizing your machines rather than remoting only a physical one single machine. So generally that's the difference. But when people speak of remoting, they generally mean both concepts, and virtualization being more specific.
Okay, thank you, Marilla. How about what are the bandwidth requirements for HD and UHD content, and what's the minimum bandwidth I need?
So I can take that question. And I'll actually address the second part first. What is the minimum bandwidth I need? So on our support site, we have the Teradici Session Planning Guide. In one of the sections there, we talk about bandwidth consumption. So for the minimum bandwidth, since it wasn't specified if this was media entertainment or just regular task or knowledge workers, it can be as low for knowledge workers. We cite anywhere between 100 to 500 kilobits a second. And the reason for that is Teradici only consumes bandwidth if the pixels on the screens are changing. So let's say if the user is looking at a Excel spreadsheet or looking at a Word document, then it's not many things are changing. So therefore, our bandwidth usage can be very low. Now, for the first part of the question, which talks about HD or UHD content, so from the sounds of it, it's probably more media entertainment focused. Let's just make that assumption. And for that, we do cite for the artist/designer use case an average about 10 megabits a second. But be aware, of course, that is the average, since we are based on how many pixels changing on the screen. Let's say if the artist or the designer decides to go full screen to watch a YouTube video or to look back at what they have done, for 1080p 60, it can be anywhere between 60 to 120 megabits a second.
Thank you so much. We do have a few more here, and here's an interesting one. How do you handle the Mac dilemma for virtualization?
Marilla, do you want me to handle that one?
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So again, today when we talked about our software solution, we generally just talked about Windows and Linux. And a lot of our, especially media entertainment customers, they want to remote their, iMac Pros, the new ones they just bought, or just existing Macs they may have around in the office. And today we actually have a partner called Amulet Hockey. And what they do is they make what's called an external remote workstation card. So you've seen the remote workstation card picture previously where it looks like there's a PCIe card that goes into a physical machine. What they have done is they packaged things around it so that it's a completely external device. So the only thing you need to plug in is USB to the Mac and then DisplayPort to the Mac as well. So that's our way of doing Mac remoting today.
Great. Thank you, Jack. How about, I think this is a pricing question, how much is Cloud Access Software?
I can answer that. So MSRP, we have two prices for Cloud Access Software. We have a Cloud Access subscription and Cloud Access Plus. So Cloud Access is meant for users for remoting a desktop that doesn't require GPU, so not meant for graphics-intensive type of customers. It's meant for office workers, task workers, etc., developers who don't use a GPU, for example. So Cloud Access, that's called Cloud Access, and that's $120 per year, and that's annual, per year, and that's concurrent users. So basically the way it works is if you have 10 users connecting at the same time, you need 10 licenses. If they're, like say, different 10 users, it's still the same 10 licenses. And then the second was Cloud Access Plus, and Cloud Access Plus is meant for anybody who has graphics-intensive workloads. So if you have a GPU in your remote desktop, that's an easy way to differentiate. You are a graphics-intensive, high-performance type user, and that's the Cloud Access Plus subscription, and that's $240 per year. Same thing, concurrent user pricing.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Marilla. We do have a couple more questions. And how about what are the endpoint options for my users?
I can take that one. So in terms of endpoints, as previously we have mentioned, we support Mac, Windows, and Linux for our software clients, as well as Chrome OS. Can't forget that one. Our Teradici, the Teradici Zero clients are absolutely supported, as well as we also have iOS and Android clients for tablets as well.
Okay, thank you. And how about, do you need a GPU on the client side?
I can take that one as well. So the answer is generally no. PCoIP being not using H.264, we don't need primarily not H.264, we don't need a powerful GPU to be able to decode the traffic. Now we do for our Linux clients today, I believe, we do offer a hardware accelerated decoding option for those of you who happen to be using Teradici and enabled our H.264 option, which we do offer as an option. Then we also have a accelerated GPU decoding option on the client side as well. But in most cases, no, you do not need a GPU on the client side.
And in that case, you just described for decoding H.264 on a client side, that's not like a discrete GPU. It would be just your normal integrated GPU, CPU sort of combo.
Yes, that is correct.
Wow, that was a great Q&A, you guys. That was really good, and we've gone through the list, so I appreciate that. Before I close out, did either of you want to say anything to the audience?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for joining us today, and Jack too, I think.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions or want to reach out, please use our links that we provided to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to talk to you.
Great.
Yeah, so one quick note is that if you have any questions about our product or want to find out things like pricing, feel free to reach out to us at sales@teradici.com. Then our sales team can direct you to the appropriate party.
Very good. Well, thank you both. You did such a great job, and thank you so much for sharing your expertise and taking time to be with us. We really appreciate it. And thank you to the audience for attending today's webcast, sponsored by Teradici and presented by Virtualization and Cloud Review. So thanks again, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day, and this concludes the webcast.